I was reading it, and got reading the calendar, and then I was writing my door.
Holy,
I'm not gonna see that.
I don't have to do that in August or July. You won't know what to do with yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Getting in the middle of the.
For 42 years, he had to get up at 3:30 in the morning to go to work. He said the day after he retired, he said, he didn't think he'd be able to sleep late. He said, he slept in the car, didn't bother him at all.
Oh, my goodness. And most people that are in that routine, they're gonna wake up at about that same time.
Yeah, it didn't take me long to fall off that train.
With me, I'm not a morning person anyway, as we were talking about earlier.
I used to have to be at work at 4 o'clock in Grandview. So I got up like 2:30. I don't miss that drive. I don't miss having to get up that hour.
That's pretty early.
Yeah.
2:30 is in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
When I started the job, it was an evening job.
Ah.
It's later than evening now.
Judy. We were talking about you, Judy. Was your ears burning?
Bad thing. How you were all partying, Is that ready to go
Don't have your
on here?
duties anymore.
Oh.
I wish, last month I had a water leak, and that's.
Oh, I had one of those Mondays. It was their responsibility.
Water bill.
No, I think flat rate for full.
There's one, well, I mean, but that's.
Could have had mine.
I couldn't get a hold
Could
of it.
have had my water bill. My husband forgot to shut off the cattle water. Nobody had been checking it, and it had been running. I had a $687 water bill.
That's only hard to nice something like.
Needless to say,
Yes, it can also be for.
he had an earful.
I have my utility. So we need to put more information in there. Almost like an electronic check.
The only thing that concerns me about that is, what if there was a water leak, we didn't know about it, they just threw $3,000 from the account? Is there a flag?
We usually get the bill before they withdraw.
Okay. 'Cause they sure won't warn you, I know.
No,
They
absolutely
won't,
not.
yeah.
No, they're gonna take their money.
Mhm.
But no, we get it just like we would if we were paying it.
You've had several leaks
It
in
doesn't
here.
take it out until the due date.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Carla.
You've had several leaks in here.
Yeah, we're talking about that. That happened today.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
On Friday.
Not all day.
Not all day. It was
dry at my house too, I think.
I haven't seen the water. Other than the water running on the ground, I haven't seen water.
The roof, they had the roof on. It
Oh,
was.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Quite a
Our place
bit.
from the whole country, yeah.
I guess so.
The whole time I was.
I bought a horse that
And I bought. And then, some of these others.
No, no. We get to that, I got a couple of questions. Sure. Yeah.
Okay, I will call the meeting to order, 7 o'clock. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Oh, what are we voting on?
I mean, a roll call, yeah, a roll call, yeah.
I'm just gonna go down, Helen's letting me use her sheet because I was delinquent and forgot my folder.
Okay.
I shouldn't have taken it to begin with. Georgia Jarman. We haven't had Georgia for a couple months.
She was on, I forgot what month it was, she was.
She tried to get on last month, but since we didn't have any connection, she couldn't, yeah.
Carlin Dillon,
Here.
Jennifer Sher, I'm here. Scotty Walker,
Here,
Judy Walter. Here. Ron McMullen,
here.
Vern Deatherage.
She's gone.
So that's,
Yeah, it is.
who do we have?
Patty Long, Jane.
Patty Long,
Here. Have the new one.
Jane Beal, here. Sandy Hankey,
Here.
and Judy Tyler.
There,
Okay, we have a quorum. Do we have any public comments?
we have our branch meeting.
Okay,
Well, technically not on there, but I'll do the public comment. I was just want to let everybody,
okay.
let the board know that, the Warrensburg branch, earlier this month went to, UCM Get Out the Red. And while we were there, first of all, we ran out of all of our little tchotchkes that we were handing out, our little logos, everything. We had a little spinning wheel and the students just loved spinning that. But we also signed up 32 students while we were over there for library cards. So that was a really good outreach to, especially during library card sign up. So I think that was a very good success. So we have another outreach at the end of this month, and then we're going to be at Bird Fest at the beginning of October. So hopefully we'll get some more people interested in library cards.
College students signed up for library cards?
Yes, they did.
Is that right?
Mhm. Yeah, it was really good.
No other public comments?
That's my husband. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess I didn't forget my phone. It's dinging down there. Before we go on, Patty, last month on my way home, I realized that I don't think that we've properly introduced ourselves around. Or have you been here before and I just don't recall?
The first
Last
meeting
month?
I was at, let's see,
Was it in court?
well, Jane was, I don't think you were there, but I.
I wasn't
we
there in
talked to each other.
July. I wasn't there in July.
Yeah,
Okay.
It was our meeting in quarter.
yeah, I think, but
Well,
thank you for,
Okay, well, on the
Offering.
way home from Lexington, oh gosh, we have a new board member and I forgot to introduce her around, so, all right.
That's right.
Okay.
you were there at the one at Lexington, yeah.
And I was there too.
I didn't, but I couldn't. We're close to you.
Consent agenda items. Any discussion on those?
I move we accept the consent agendas items.
Second.
A motion by Ron and a second by Jane to accept the consent agenda. Get a roll call vote, please.
Carlin Dillon,
Yes.
Judy Walter,
Yes.
Judy Tyler,
Yes.
Judy Beal,
Yes.
Ron McMullen.
Yes.
Sorry, hey, did I skip you?
Yes. Oh, you did skip me, but yes is my answer.
Sorry, I'm getting it, I'm figuring it out. The secretary stuff is serious business. Myself, yes, and Scotty.
Yes.
Don't forget her.
Sandy.
Yes.
All right, we still have no unfinished business. New business.
So, the first item is the COVID-19 response plan, and I did put documentation in there that we would like to just kind of set that aside for now. For obvious, several reasons. The map that I utilized to move us from one level to the other is no longer available, so I have no measure to move us. Public, of course, no longer wants any mandated restrictions, so we were getting pushed back when we actually moved up a couple levels. The vaccine, of course, is readily available, and then we did poll all the branch managers, and they're on board with us kind of setting it aside. So I just need that approval from the board to do that. And then also propose that we do something a little different regarding paying employees while they're off due to COVID. And this would just be it, whatever the board wanted to do. Currently, we're paying 100% while they're off due to COVID without having to utilize any leave. I would like to change that to 5 days. So that is still pretty generous.
Because say most places don't do any anymore. They have to use their sick leave.
Yeah, and that's fine too, if you guys want to do that. bring it to you.
Did that go by legal at all?
As far as what, putting our plan aside, no, we didn't, it wasn't something that we had to send to them to, you know.
Changing the way the leave is taken?
Well, it's not really leave, so it was just something that the board was kind of doing with COVID, which a lot of employers were doing. So it wasn't really anything we needed to take to legal. Good question.
What is your suggestion as to, do we do 5 days or do we do, you have some other idea as to what would work?
Well, basically, we're kind of going by the CDC guidelines right now as far as what guidance we're giving staff if they're exposed or if they're positive. And it's, if you're positive, essentially, you're supposed to stay, or exposed, like someone in your household, stay home for 5 days. And then if you no longer show symptoms or you don't start exhibiting symptoms, then you can come back to work for 5 days wearing a mask. So that 5 days, if you were to do that, would cover that 5-day window that we require them to be off. So that would be my recommendation if you wanted to do that, or if you wanted to have them utilize leave now. So
What is their sick leave policy? Just, do you know it?
so that one is fairly new because we split their PTO into annual leave and sick leave. The way that the sick leave is set up, they have to have a doctor's note if they're out 3 days or more before they can return to work. And a lot of people are doing at-home tests and things like that.
I know for the university, since a vaccine is offered, a positive COVID test, if you are vaccinated, is mask on and keep your distance. So there's no mandated be out of office at all.
Oh, okay.
I don't know whether that's matching CDC recommendations or not.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's the 5 days, yeah.
And the rest of my daughter
The
is
standard
telling
they
me.
compare to.
Right. And it may depend on too, maybe how the offices are set up, you know, where like admin could probably do that. They can separate and kind of stay in, some of us can stay in our own offices, but the branch staff would be the concern there and interact in our in closer quarters.
I'd say if you're requiring them to stay home for 5 days, then you can manage to keep them home without using their PTO. If that's manageable for the administration, that's very generous. The sustainable model.
Do all employees get that benefit?
Yes, they have been. We have been paying them 100%. And of course, we've had some people that have been out for, you know, quite a while, but they didn't lose any pay from that because that was what the last thing that was approved. And so if we're going to kind of, you know, put aside the plan, we wanted to revisit that so that we have a number in there, or we just have a leave.
If they show symptoms, or if they don't show symptoms, I think they should be out.
I think if they have to test positive.
That's what it is now. That's what the E tells them to do. If you test positive, you take your 5 days, then you come back.
If you're positive or someone in your household, right now that's the CDC guideline. If you're just exposed in general, you can come wearing a mask for 10 days, unless you start exhibiting symptoms.
And if they're gone more than 3 days, there's the doctor's note.
According to our, if they were using their sick leave,
Okay.
then that is what our policy says.
But the COVID is no questions asked?
No, not as long as we have a positive, test.
I think we should require,
Require a positive.
yeah, I think we should.
I think the doctor's testing is more enforceable because who here is qualified to read?
Well, you can go get
Medical
one.
professional.
You would have to go get one.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do a home test. You would have to actually go somewhere and have a test, and then they give you the results or whatever.
That puts the burden of proof on the employee to the supervisor. That's multi-layered.
any abuse of this that you know of?
Not that I know of. We kept pretty, close watch on it since I've been here especially. Can't speak before that.
I got
But
a
you can't-
question.
But you can't know if they don't have to prove they have it, if they just call and say they got it, and we're just taking their word, we can't know if there's abuse or not.
That's true, that's true.
Jane?
Question?
Yeah, how many,
And-
on the average, how many days have they been missing when they have COVID? Are they missing a full 5 days? Are they missing 10 days or what? When they're, just an average, how many days are they missing when they have COVID?
I think here recently, most people, I would say 5 to 7 days. And there again, the CDC guidance was different before because they were saying you had to be out for 2 weeks. So that
Right.
kind of skewed, but here recently, I think most have been out like 5, 6 days, somewhere in there, pretty average. But of course,
Well, my
then, if
thinking
they had a really,
Yeah. Well, what I was thinking was, we got good people working, if we don't want to lose these people and, we kind of need to work with it. So many places are, so short-staffed and it seems like we're doing fairly well. I think we ought to consider doing something, to help retain these people that we have. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but and I think they should show you a positive test, to you guys, so
I mean, I think that's, both of those, I think are excellent suggestions, yeah.
Well, if they can show us that they have had COVID, we'll give them 5 days. And then after that,
If they don't want to go get a test, then they have to use their leave,
right,
essentially.
But
Yeah.
all employees don't get sick leave, only full-time, right?
Correct.
Okay.
If they're 19-hour employees, do not.
So this is
For all employees or
for all employees, but this is like an extra benefit for 19 hour.
Correct. And of course, they would only get paid for the days that they would
they
have
were scheduled.
scheduled, yes. So if they were only scheduled for one of those 5 days, then that would be the only day they would get paid for.
Did I hear a motion?
I did make a motion.
Your motion is?
Say it so I can type it.
What, huh? You want me to repeat what I said? Okay. I move that if they test positive, that we will allow them 5 days of scheduled days. And beyond that, they will take sick leave. Or come back wearing a mask.
Okay, so what do we do if they've been exposed?
Oh. Just because you're exposed doesn't mean anything.
The current policy is if they're just exposed and non-symptomatic, they wear a mask in.
Yeah.
If there's someone in their household tests positive, then we, basically the same thing as if they tested positive, so it would be 5 days, but that can certainly be changed. I mean.
Do we have a second on Judy's
Just
motion?
because the dog has COVID doesn't mean they should take 5 days.
I mean, you could certainly change it to where they have to wear a mask for the 10 days unless they exhibit symptoms, obviously, and then, get tested, but.
Read the motion again, would you?
Also moves that if employees test positive for COVID-19, they are permitted 5 calendar days of COVID leave at 100% pay. Additional time off needed after the 5 days must be taken as sick leave.
Not calendar days, scheduled days.
Yeah, scheduled.
Scheduled days, calendar days would be
Well,
weekend.
but if you're looking at a 19-hour employee and they're scheduled 1 day a week, 5 scheduled days is 5 leaves.
Yeah.
True.
We're gonna be working 4 hours a day.
But basically, what you're saying, we just don't want to pay them.
Right.
And you're
Days are
right,
scheduled.
that would extend it out if they were only
Yeah.
working 1 day a week. You're correct.
What happens to the 19-hour people if they have to go more than the 5 days? They don't have sick leave, they're just out of
They're just out and with no.
If they're not scheduled to work, though, they're not.
Yeah, but I mean, when they're scheduled, if they're, those days, they would just, it would just be whatever, they would just have to do it like they normally do it.
Correct.
But they're, when you take Sunday out of the equation, a 19-hour person is gonna be working 4 hours.
They're not gonna work every day.
But to get 19 hours into 5 days,
Well, they don't all work, I mean, some of them only work 3, some of them work 4. I mean, it just kind of depends on what the branch's
we
needs are.
call people in for 3 hours.
No.
They might work 2 8-hour days.
It depends on the needs of the branch.
It's a pay period, isn't it? It's as long as, is it 19 hours a week?
19 hours a week.
So then in like the 2-week pay period, they're allowed 38 hours?
Correct.
So they could work like so many days 1 week and maybe an extra day the next week if they've only worked 2. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
with them, we can adjust like that
Right.
because basically they're limited to X number of hours for the whole year, for the calendar year. And so we can flex a little bit with their schedules and help them make up time and things like that. And we have done that. So we could
Well,
certainly continue. with
I'm
that.
thinking of that quarter, like if Shelley's on vacation and April works,
Mhm.
she's gonna have more hours morning.
Yes.
We had the same thing over at Knob when one was out sick, the manager was out sick and then on leave, and the other one who was only a 19 hour.
So do we have the wording correct on that? That they understand it's only if they are scheduled to work and they're missing days? Do you think we have it worded right?
Can you read it again? If employees test positive for COVID-19, they are permitted 5 calendar days of COVID leave at, should I say regular pay? Is that pay?
100% pay would be at their regular. Yeah.
Additional time off needed after the 5 days must be taken as sick. That makes sense to me that it would be inferring whatever their pay was going to be during those 5 days. That seems clear to me.
And we'll write it up for, to disperse to the staff, and I can make sure it's in there as well, just to make sure that it's very
That they
clear.
understand it.
Yes. The
And
only
is
thing
that-
that,
Is that with proof of attest too?
That
To
is,
get
that
the
wording
pay?
is not, does someone want to amend the motion?
No,
They test,
Yeah, it does say if an employee tests positive.
so wouldn't they have to?
Change the wording to provide proof of positive test.
if that's what you want to require.
yes,
Is that reasonable for the staff?
yes.
Branch manager, what do you think?
Yeah. When it's test positive, is it home test or they have to go to the doctor to test? 'Cause that could be part of the, how hard is it for someone to get to the doctor, especially in smaller areas. Yeah.
But you can be tested at Walgreens or
Oh, we don't have
CVS or. It's true.
It's on the hours.
I went to Walmart once to ask this before we got them. And they said, we don't do that. That was in Higginson. I don't know. Yeah.
You can put something in there like if able,
If available.
if available, or something like that.
Well, I mean, the home test, they have to get them, they have to be, they're government approved. You can't just, I don't think they're black marketing.
They black market everything else.
I mean, I don't know. Not yet, right?
don't even know
Well,
it
yeah,
came
because-
from a person that, employee, it could have come from their neighbor.
And
Well, that's
maybe we're
true.
maybe we're making too big of a deal out of it, because if we haven't required, if it's just been on the honor system so far,
I'm gonna put my neck out here, don't cut it off. I say we let them use a home test, but they have to show it, and let's just go with that. If it becomes more of a problem, then we can require something else.
My gut instinct is always to leave it to the branch manager to determine how they want to manage their staff. A little bit.
And if we hit
We gotta trust them a little bit, you know?
Right, you gotta trust them a little bit, and they can take that home test in there, they can show that little strip, if they need to be, they can put that in a Ziploc bag and say, here's my test, and
Take a
So-
picture and send
So do
it.
we want to say if an employee tests positive, or do we want to say if an employee provides proof of a
we're only talking about $55.
Yeah,
$11 an hour for 5
Yeah.
days, we're only $5. Let's just don't make such a
Yeah.
big of a problem.
and let's trust them a little bit. Branch managers know if somebody's lying or,
After all of this, we're encouraging people to say, well, they don't trust us. I'm just gonna, again, my child's home test.
dog.
Yeah.
Judy's motion stands. Judy moves that if employees test positive for COVID-19, they're permitted 5 calendar days of COVID leave at 100% pay. Additional time off needed after the 5 days must be taken as sick.
I think that says what we needed to say without going over the limit.
And you probably need to say which, Judy.
I did say
Oh,
that
okay.
in the writing. It is written.
It's there, but yeah, it's over.
We still don't have a second.
Judy Tyler could simplify, or, second, that would just make it all simple.
Yeah,
Judy and Judy.
Okay, I second.
The other Judy's been second.
All right. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Sandy Hanky,
yes.
Walter,
yes,
Judy Tyler,
Yes.
Patty Long,
Yes.
Jane Beal,
yes.
Harlan Dillon,
Yes.
myself, yes, Ron Mullen,
Yes.
Scotty Walker.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion carries unanimously. All right.
And then I know we approved to put the plan in place, so I would feel better if you,
Set her
Set it
aside
aside.
by motion.
yes, please.
Make a motion that we set the current plan, policy, whatever it
Plan.
is, aside for the time being.
I'll second that.
Let's see.
All right, we have a motion by Judy and a second by Sandy to set aside for the time being the COVID response plan. Any discussion? Take a roll call vote, please.
Sandy Hanky,
Yes,
Judy Walter,
Yes.
Judy Tyler,
Yes.
Patty Long,
Yes.
Jane Beal,
Yes.
Harlan Dillon,
Yes.
myself, yes, Ron McMullen,
Yes.
Scotty Walker.
Yes.
Unanimous.
All right, thank you. Would you like to give us an update on branch?
We never had a conversation.
We never?
about
Okay.
exactly what you were wanting there,
Okay,
so
well,
if you
we'll
could
just,
explain it to me, maybe I can update.
we'll talk about it and we can talk about it next month.
Okay,
That's
we,
okay.
yes, if you guys want to table that.
Sure.
Are we
Does
tabling?
that take a motion?
Are we tabling?
What are we tabling?
Yeah, I think so.
The update on extended hours.
Extended hours. Scotty asked for that to be on there, but we never got to have the conversation. He wanted it in August, and then I had to rush out of town. So we haven't had the conversation.
Consider it, I would ask about it, we need to say something that it was
You were asked about what?
about what it was that we were talking about, the
Well,
extended hours.
okay, so
Because
I
it
think
showed up on here and I'm
before,
going, oh,
before Jackie came on, we extended all the branch hours. And I just want to know, is that working or are we,
I think they each need to take consideration of what their own situation is. For instance, as we said earlier, some of these towns, they roll up the streets at 5 o'clock. there's no reason for them to sit there by themselves. However, there are others that need longer hours. I mean, I've been sitting out here at times when people are beating on the doors at 5:30 because they couldn't get in. So I think each branch manager needs to determine that themselves.
Well, I just want to make sure that we are spending our payroll money as
Right.
best we should. So that was the whole purpose of just having this discussion, is every branch meeting the needs of its community as well as spending our payroll dollars as efficiently as possible.
But we don't need any minimum or maximum hours set for them by this board, I don't think.
But I think that's what we did.
Yeah, I know we did.
So I just want to make sure that we are meeting the needs of the community, but spending our money as wisely as possible.
And just to interject here, in our strategic plan, I'm pretty sure that's one of the things that we're gonna be assessing for this first year is if what we have for set hours for each branch is working. In consultation with the branch manager, obviously.
That and the community.
Yeah.
Okay,
So does that need to be
So do
voted?
we still need to table that?
no, I think we've had our discussion.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you get all that?
There was no motion or second.
No, we didn't need to make a motion.
Just
Yes,
discussion.
discussion.
Open.
Yeah. Okay.
Point of order, actually. When you did a motion for the consent agenda, did that approve the minutes as written?
Yes.
And the three financial
Yes.
reports?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is our collection development discussion. And I have brought this up, so I won't ask you to talk about it, but I'm going to ask you to comment.
I can do that.
This has been going on for a while, we all know this. But, and I'm just talking, we weed books entirely too soon, but this isn't about weeding in general. There are some books that should not ever leave our library. And I'm gonna give you an example. You and I got fired. Well, I got fired. I don't know why you got fired, but
Because I was peanut butter.
well, I don't know how Ron missed the boat because he was the opinion too.
Newer than you and I.
He was down to lunch that day.
So, this book, when Holden built its new branch back in 2004 or 2003, or ended in 2003, a friend of mine who was a retired colonel in the Marine Corps had written a book about his experiences in Vietnam. And he wrote on there, "To the people of Poland, congratulations on your wonderful library. This is a small gift to show my appreciation for your efforts. There is so much that should not be forgotten. Best wishes, Jerry Kerr." Well, this book got discarded 3 years ago. And I had discovered, because I made a number, I knew what our weeding policy was, that, if it hasn't been checked out in 5 years, we throw it away. Well, I had forgotten to check the book out, and I went to check it out, and it was gone. Fortunately, it had been purchased by one of our branch employees for $25, and when she found out that that was the book, she gave it back. Well, over the last couple of years, COVID has kind of gotten messy, and I forgot to check the book out, and I went to check it out the other day, and it was gone. Yes, when I went into our catalog, it was not listed.
No.
It was not. No, it was
I
not.
did a search and nobody put it back in the catalog. It was there.
It was where?
It's in our catalog. It was never withdrawn the second time. That's what I told you in the email.
When I went to the catalog,
Mhm.
it was not there at all. It was only an evergreen.
It's been in the catalog as far as I know. I mean,
And it wasn't on the shelf in Holden.
because no one just quickly
Because-
put it back in the catalog.
Because Teresa told me, she said, "Oh, it's lost." I said, "But it's not in the catalog."
When I did a search, it was in the catalog.
If a book is marked as lost, it shows that it's not in circulation.
But
If someone had checked it out and not returned it,
but if it's been checked out and not returned, it should still show in the catalog.
this happened to me recently. A book was checked out to us, we misplaced it.
But it's just,
It
but it should
it was
still show in the
taken, it was
catalog.
taken out of circulation. So when we finally found it and brought it back, they had to like take it to someone to get it put back into circulation.
But it was not in the catalog. Was it or was it not in the catalog?
They had to do work to put it back in.
Okay, so, but it shouldn't,
Patron loses the material. It is still lost.
As far as I know,
But
if
it
it's, does it show up in the catalog if it's lost? Do you know?
I think on the patron side, if the book has been checked out and it's gone too long and it ends up in what we call lost status, after a while it's been in lost status. On the patron side, you won't see it that it's available. But on the staff side, as we look for it, it'll still be there, so we know, yes, it's checked out to this person, because since we don't charge fines, when it gets checked back in, we have to know that we are not gonna be charging this person a fine as long as it comes back in good condition. So it gets hidden from the patron
so
side.
it's true that I couldn't see it in our collection.
Probably, yeah. If you look at the catalog through your account or whatever, it's very possible that it does not show up, depending on how long it had been lost.
Okay,
Now, it doesn't do that immediately when it goes into lost status, but like if it's been gone, I know we've had some with the code with the pandemic that have come back 2-3 years later. We still see it in the catalog,
Mhm.
but it's not in circulation, so patrons can't see it and try and request it.
okay.
Okay,
So-
so that's different in my experience at other places, that did still show up, it just said the status was lost.
Yeah.
So I apologize,
Okay,
you probably
okay,
did not.
That's okay.
I'm just glad that my ability to mismanage resources has paid off for everyone.
What do you want, a blue ribbon?
Probably a red ribbon, second place.
So over the overall point is over the years, there have been several books that have been donated in memory of people. That I think those books should not leave.
And I thought, I read somewhere, maybe I dreamed it, I don't know, where it talked about weeding. It indicated that
Mhm.
certain books, despite the last checkout or how frequently they have been checked out, would remain in the library because they were significant for
For some reason.
some
Yeah.
reason.
And it is in here.
Is that where it is? Okay.
You are
I knew I read it
It
somewhere.
was updated in January of 2020, which might have been after the first time it was withdrawn, it sounds like.
Yes.
maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
But-
in there.
But does that not leave it up to the discretion of the branch manager or technical services?
Yeah, because they're the ones that are responsible
Okay, so-
for the
so-
collection.
So that leaves it up to their discretion. Our branch manager's not gonna know the significance of, well, first off, I'm not gonna use this book because, first off, this book is about Vietnam, which to me is always gonna be a current topic. People are always gonna be interested, yeah. People are always gonna be interested in Vietnam. So, I mean, but if this book was written about, I don't know, how to clean your carpet,
Who cares?
well, yeah, but.
But there may be
but
a
if it
in
was-
memory of.
If it was in memory of, so it's.
Usually when they put a book in memory of someone, they put a placard in there that says that it's donated by so-and-so
Yeah.
because of that. Or in this case, where the author wrote a script in there,
Mhm.
they should look at those things
Mhm.
when they weed.
But I'm afraid that's not happening. So my question is, why can't certain books be tagged in the system so they never come up as something to weed?
I don't think there's a way to do that.
I'm gonna say, actually, right now, Wardsboro's going through that in our nonfiction collection. And I'll say there are some issues with that. It depends on the book. Condition, first of all, I have a lot of books in my office that are just so worn out now. A lot of those will get replaced, and they should get that little placard back in there. So you're not weeding the memory of, you're weeding the condition of the book. But I also have a lot of books from our nonfiction collection that have very derogatory terms for minority groups that were written 100 years ago. And in a nonfiction, so we shouldn't, as a public library, we're not a repository, we're not an archive, we're not necessarily a research library. We probably shouldn't have that type of stuff in our collection because it's not talking about how they used to talk. It's like they're actually talking about the people as though they're if you're just talking about them in very derogatory terms and comparing them to what they consider better races. So it's
Okay,
very,
but now we're going into the banned book discussion.
no, this isn't banned books. This is not it. What I'm talking about is in our nonfiction, which, should have factual information in it. But when you have books that were written 100 years ago, first of all, that nobody checked out also, but that do have, like, I actually have one in my office right now that talks about Native Americans, they call them red men, and say that they're trying to be as good as the white man. That is not factual information. So as a public library, we have to decide, should this be in our collection or not? If it was an academic library, when I worked there, absolutely we would keep that in there because it is a research topic. But here, because we're trying to have the most up-to-date factual information, we shouldn't have that type of stuff. But also, we get computer books in. We had some computer books from the 1990s. That's not factual information anymore either. It's not up to date. So even if it is something that's in the memory, maybe we need to look at if a book that, especially in a collection that we know is not out, to make sure that that in memory of goes back into that little placard goes back into the that book. That might be something that we have to look at, but
Is there a librarian or someone managing collections within Trails is there a special collection that is unique to local history?
yes, most of the branches do have in their reference section, like family histories. I know Holden has a lot of stuff in there about the cemetery, about the town. Warrensburg does too. Quarter has about the mine that they have. They have a whole filing cabinet about that. That's in their reference section.
So potentially a book like this could be recommended for a special collection.
And that could even be, that would be up to the director and our technical services, maybe something that would be a different type of special collection.
There's just got to be a way of protecting certain books. And I'm going to give you an example. A while back, when this all came up a few years ago, I got the notion I wanted to read a book about J.C. Penney, the man, not the store. And of course, we had nothing, but there was something in Hamilton, which there should be something in Hamilton. And I got books that were actually autographed by Mr. Penney. And it was significant enough to them that they kept those books. They were old books. They looked like they hadn't been read since 1967, but it was significant to them to have kept them. Also, this book was also donated to the people of Ray County, and it's been significant enough for them to keep it. There's got to be some way, and we've talked about this before, but there's got to be a way of locking these books down so that they're available, but never risk being tossed out.
Maybe we should,
Local history.
maybe we should have a memorial section where maybe those books that are donated in memory of someone are put into a special section instead of going into the, to be filed in the library like a normal book would.
Sounds great in theory, but
It's
if
hard
you
to
actually
do.
put that into practice, you are gonna have a library, you're gonna have a.
Full of people donating books.
Exactly, because, we get a lot of those. And so you can't always go by that. And, according to the policy that's here, the way it's written, that is something that we should be considering when we read something. There's a lot of criteria. It's not just that it hasn't checked out. It's not just, there's many different things that you look at when you're reading, weeding or discarding in your collection.
Except the policy is vague enough that as staff changes, there's going to be that memory, that institutional memory of why that book was written. So as staff changes, trust me, I'm only 56 years old. I'm going to be checking this book out for the next 40 years just to make sure it stays in that library.
But our staff should be following our policy. And if they do, that's something that they should be looking at. If there is an inscription, is there something, a book plate? Because if it is donated in memory of somebody, we're probably not going to pull that as quickly as we would something else, right? Because it does have the book plate. It was donated in memory of someone. And the way it's written here, and our staff are supposed to be following this policy, it pretty much already protects that. I'm not sure any other way you can put it
It
in.
doesn't, because I know our quilt guild,
Mhm.
20, 30 years old, whatever, but when one of our members, an active member, passes away, that was one of the things we did. We gave a book to their library, Warrensburg, Knob, Noster, the others, down by the lake, and stuff like that, in memory of them, and they would put the library would put the plate in there.
Mhm.
Well, it came up a couple of years ago that someone passed away, and I said, don't forget the book. Oh, we're not gonna do that anymore because they've told us at the library, they don't want any more books because they're just throwing them out. And I went, what?
I don't know
Okay.
who said that.
Either.
No.
And likewise, they said that, because before also, the quilt guild would purchase subscriptions of quilt magazines for the library. I know we had 2 or 3 here and a couple in where I live. And we had a couple ladies down at Holden and various places like that. And those were the ones that we would, it was up to the treasurer to keep them up to date. And usually the library would say, well, this one's due and, expires, so they would write them a check. And we've done it different ways where the treasurer actually subscribed, that's how it all got started again, was I subscribed to the various publications and had them sent to the library. And then it was also done where we gave the money to the library and they did it. So, but there again, we were told, library doesn't want magazines.
Yeah, and I can't speak to anything that happened before I came.
I
And
understand.
then Nate was here as our tech services manager.
I think it happened before then.
And so the only thing that I can do from this point forward is, I mean, we're trying to hire a new tech services manager, is to make sure that whenever we train them, that we talk about the collection development and what we expect, our expectation.
This is Sandy, has been waiting to talk.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Sandy.
No, that's fine. With all the digital stuff, we ought to be able to have a barcode that would be specific to flag those books. I think that would be easy. I mean, we ought to be able to have a barcode just for that. Even if it's just the second barcode, if that book has, instead of one barcode, or I don't know how many barcodes they have on them, but why can't we put an extra barcode on those certain books, and ding, ding, when somebody sees one of those, oh, this has got 2 barcodes, it's special, and somehow, I mean, we've got to be able to do that with our digital age, that we can flag those books somehow to, when that thing goes across the scanner or somebody asks for it, we should be able to do something.
I think we should.
I agree. I have a hard time believing that we can't somehow flag these in the system, that they're not to be pulled. I agree with you.
We barcoded big, huge 100-foot pieces of concrete, and if there was something special about it, we put an extra barcode. We put an extra barcode on that thing, and when people realize, oh, there's something different about this, it shouldn't be this hard to do. It really shouldn't.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch what you said.
We should rewrite the budget paper for a special collections librarian, full librarian.
Are you looking for a job or what?
I don't have anything like that. Are you kidding me?
The books that were
Taken
weeded
years to get.
used to be sold in the library. So if those special books came up, someone saw it and brought it to the attention of the librarian or branch manager. But we no longer do that. So those books just disappear and they're shipped off somewhere, and the public has no idea that it's even missing. Whereas when they were sold in the branches, someone was aware of it, became aware of it. Like now we don't even, the public doesn't even see what books are being weeded out.
And that's another discussion I want to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, I would have to look at our policy manual, but I know that's one thing as far as when items are donated, they become part of the collection. And so they are subject to being discarded just like the rest of our collection. if you start flagging every one of those books, we are gonna have so many books. You do not understand the number of books that we have that are donated in memory of someone. It's a lot. And if you keep doing that, you know, you're gonna have your shelves so full, you can't add anything else. You know, it runs into a lot of problems. You can't put 2 barcodes on it because the barcode is what identifies that item in your catalog. So they're not gonna know which barcode to scan. Did you have something to?
Well, I was thinking that, I think somewhere in our MARC records, which is in the cataloging, whenever they do catalog, I think there is somewhere in there where they could probably put a line or something that for the technical services staff, if it gets weeded out of this collection and goes to them, they would be able to look through and see that this has been donated in memory of. Now, but there's also on the other side, we do get donations, like here, I'm giving you $500, put in children's books. They don't specify titles. And that's another discussion too that you'd have to think of. Are we gonna keep, you know, even if it wasn't a specific title that this family or this in memory of this person, it's just, you want this $500 to go to books for the children's collection. That would be the only.
And that's kind of a different situation, rather than somebody giving a specific book that is for a
Limited to
specific.
that person.
Yeah,
There's a difference between in memory of and this book that you've got.
That's dedicated to the people of Holden,
Yeah.
correct. And like I said, it is covered in here. So other than that, I mean, as far as procedures, I mean, we can certainly put things in procedures when we're training people, you know, all of those things. I can also talk to our tech services staff, see if there are some options. I'm not thinking of any right off the top of my head, but there may be things that they know about that I'm not privy to with the Evergreen system. So I can do that and bring back options, yes.
When you do weeding, do you have specific people who are in charge of that, or is it like the branch, each branch does their weeding, or is there like a certain person that's in charge of the whole shebang?
So when I first came, it was centralized essentially. So I think the first round, I think tech services, and correct me if I'm wrong because you were here, I'm pretty sure that the first round, tech services came in to the branch and they were the ones that did all the weeding. Is that correct? Not this last time, but
They would
before.
actually send us a list, of books, and that was all based on, checkout, how many times it's been
But
checked.
that was this last time. The first time when Nate was here,
It might have been before I.
it might have been before you came.
Yeah.
But what I understand is tech services actually went to the branch and they were pulling the books
There
and
was
withdrawing.
a time when they did that,
Yes.
but there was also a time before that when they sent the list
Mhm.
and the employees of that branch
Mhm.
pulled them. And then they went to, we got people here in tech services and we'll just go out and take care of it and get rid of them. And then it went back.
From what I understand, when the first weeding that Nate did when he first came, I think tech services went out, they went to the branch, they pulled everything from whatever method that he used. I think then after that initial one, then as Jay was saying, they were sent a list
Mhm.
of items that they were supposed to pull. They pulled them, boxed them up, or bagged them, and sent them to TS to be withdrawn from the system.
Actually, what we did is we would, scan them into what we call buckets in our Evergreen. TS would deal with that there. This is why we still have the book sales in the branch.
Mhm.
And then those books would stay in the branch to either be sold or they would have ones that get sent to TS so they could be rehomed in the branch.
Okay, but once the book sales went away, then the books physically came
It
here.
just came back here.
And so I think now, since Nate has been gone, there's a lot of, since Jay is new here at Warrensburg, she knew that like the nonfiction, like she was talking about, really needed some attention. A lot of books were conditioned, things like that.
Mhm.
So she has been given permission to do that without having to have a list. We are looking at doing something different with our weeding to make it more efficient, if you will, so that it's not, the burden is not all on the TS staff. And then the branch, the people that work in that branch will be the ones that are
Right.
doing that.
And I also believe that a period in there, there were a couple of different ways they did it. The branch manager, if they had a worn, weathered book, was brought to them and by one of their employees, and said, yeah, this needs to go. And then they would send it in and say.
That's correct, yeah.
And then there was a time that they weren't allowed that.
Mm.
They could only be decided upon by somebody sitting up here.
And I'll tell you that, if that is how it was, and that's how it was when Nate was here, I will assure you, that is not how it's gonna be moving
Well,
forward.
we're glad.
So, we're working on a lot of things, and that's just one of the things that we're working on, so. And of course, hopefully soon, we'll have a new tech services manager as well. So do you guys want me to look at some options and bring back for how we can flag those items?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we've got books out there that have
I'll make
been.
a motion. I'll make a motion. I don't know if we can do that. I'll make a motion that we have Jackie check into this and bring us back options to take care of this problem of the weeding and keeping things.
So you're asking Jackie to review the policy that she,
Well, just to look at what options we have to flag it in the catalog.
And
In
if she
some
can,
way.
if she can bring this back to us at one of the next meetings.
then are we, okay, so Cindy moves to Jackie review options to flag special collection items. in the-
Special items, I guess, maybe would.
Special items in the catalog.
Yeah.
I don't know that any left in Holden because they got rid of them all.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it was like Holden was being punished for
Yeah.
something. They came in and all of a sudden, they just
Clean the show.
cleaned house. They were gone.
I was like Scotty, I actually went to various meetings in the area saying, if you donated any books to the library, you get in there and check them out. Or they're gonna go away.
Well, there were a lot of books in Holden that were shipped out. And
And they were, I know that.
And they sold them for a quarter apiece. I think there were some first edition Lewis Lamar leather-bound books that they sold for a quarter apiece that were donated in memory of.
I would cry over that.
Well, there-
It was sad, the number of books that went out of
He and
there.
I were born in the same town.
I mean, it really was. It was really sad. And the patrons really had no recourse whatsoever,
And when was
except to
that?
just buy them
And take them home
and take them home.
When was that?
years ago.
All I can do is improve things moving
Yeah.
forward. That's
Oh,
all I can
you
do.
will.
I can't go backwards, I'm sorry.
We hope you don't.
Holden was bad and we got our hands slapped and so that's how they did it.
I will second Sandy's.
All right. We have a second a motion by Sandy and a second by James. Can we have a roll call vote?
Sandy Hanky,
Yes.
He said yes.
Judy Walter,
Yes.
Judy Tyler,
Yes.
Heidi Long,
Yes.
Jane Beal.
Yes.
Harlan Dillon,
Yes.
myself, yes, Ron McMullen.
Yes.
Scotty Walker,
Yes.
unanimous.
Thank you very much. This is something that's very important to me, and I hope to the board. Roofing update.
Okay, it's going.
Up to date, up to date.
Okay, so, let me see here, where do I want to start? Okay, so, today's just Wednesday, so yesterday, early, I think it was around 8 o'clock, so the contractors called and they were all in a panic. Had all of us panicking at some point. I had to call a meeting with everyone in the building. But they found that the facade, the brick facade on the outside, along Holden Street was pulling away from the building. It was being held on with the roof. However they do that, it was kind of.
Well, move your car.
Yeah, we had everybody move our cars, all of that stuff, anybody that was parked along there. It is. Let me finish. So anyway, so I met with, Roger, you know, and Billy, our facilities guys, to figure out what we can kind of get a game plan. So we had someone come in, a structural, I don't know, I think they were a structural engineer, but anyway, they were some type of engineer to come and look at that wall. They said it's all intact. It's not in danger of falling. It's basically just where you took the overlap of the roof off where it would hold it more steady. We do need to brace it, but that is something that can be done later. It was not in danger of crumbling. It's not in danger. It wasn't in danger of collapsing, basically, is what they gave us, their assessment of that. So basically, it's not in immediate danger of becoming detached from the structure. The roofing contractors cleared to continue removing the old roof, because that's when they found it was when they were taking the old roof off. And then there's options basically that can be put into place after or even during the current roofing project to make sure that, you know, to stabilize it moving forward. Let's see. So the roofers did stop working yesterday around 1. And then they started work this morning at 4. And they blocked off the parking spaces, they blocked off the sidewalk just in case. So we took every precaution. So what I did find out, I did speak to our attorney, because if we were like an emergency situation, to have to fix the wall or have someone come in to keep, you know, if it was really an emergency situation like we thought, we would need to have the board waive the bidding process in that situation. So I don't know if you guys want to do that for this project, only if there's an emergency situation like this. If not, we would have to call a special meeting, which is going to hold things up. So that would just be if you guys wanted to do that. And if you do, somebody can make a motion whenever I get finished, because then we had something happen today. So we had an unexpected shower this afternoon, so you can kind of see it did rain in the branch. So it was here, correct me if I'm wrong, it was in the meeting room, the hallway, and then the front part of the branch is where it was leaking. We still have, if you saw all the trash cans sitting around, that's what they were for. But anyway, they still had it open. It was an unexpected shower. They weren't expecting it till later today, so surprise. So anyway, they quickly tried to get everything done, but as you can see, we got some damage. And of course, in our contract, the contractors are responsible for anything that they mess up. With that being said, on the, I think it's to the left. Do you know where it is? Where the yeah, it's to the left. So if you're standing in front of the desk, it would be to the left. So anyway, the air conditioner units on top of the roof, they have basically curbs around them. And so when they were removing the roof with their tool or whatever, they hit the ductwork and it made a hole. Not a hole, but it dented it, I think. So it doesn't fill the hole. Anyway, so they are working to get someone out here to fix that. So just wanted to kind of update you. But anyway, the contractor has to take care of that. And then of course, if you do not know, Lexington's AC is still out. We were hoping to get it fixed today, but they sent the wrong part. So just another side note.
You want to tell us about the story when the guy put his foot through the roof?
Oh, yes. So we've had several other, which I think that was that in your report?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically some of the, I'm trying to remember if it had, anyway, the guy's foot slipped off. I don't know if it was the metal or if it was the wood part, but anyway, and his foot went through the drop ceiling. No, they don't have a drop ceiling, do they? No, it was just because it was like out in the hallway. Yeah. It doesn't have the drop ceiling. So anyway, his foot came through. So we had a little bit of debris that fell. But again, they have to fix that,
But there was
and no one was hurt.
the area where they weren't going to be working at all, when they tore off, they found all the deteriorating
Mm-hmm.
beams
The
up there.
trusses, yeah, and that was over admin. Is where that was at.
I had a question about, the last meeting they talked about, there was a part of the roof that they thought didn't have to be replaced, and they think now they have to. So, I know they're probably gonna have to put in a change order to cover that, but is this the roofer telling us it needs to be fixed, or is it the, structural engineer that we hired to look at it saying it has to be fixed?
So the engineer, the structural engineer that came to look, the roofer, the one that came, that's basically project manager now, he looked at it. When he originally looked at it, he thought it could just be repaired, patched, instead of having to be replaced. So that was not included in the project. But now that they've got up there working up there, now the roofers are like, yeah, this needs to be done. So we're not sure how that is going to happen yet, but as soon as we get it all figured out, I will let you know. Because I'm not sure if it'll be a change order, because if you have to do a change order if it's part of the existing project. But we're not sure if they can secure the materials to do the extra part, or if it needs to be fully replaced, or it just needs extra, more repair work than what was first anticipated.
I thought that was the whole reason why we went to have the structural engineer come and look at it, so that he could make a determination if it needed to be done or not. So I feel like he dropped the ball on his job.
Well, there's only so much you can see without ripping all of that stuff off. Just like over administration, they didn't know that the wood trusses were rotten. And so things like that happen when you do.
Yeah, but to think if the roof is okay and then say, oh, no, it's gotta come off and be replaced, that's a big drop the ball.
But I know he took like core samples, I believe. I don't know how they do that, but anyway, to see what material was there and all of that. So, I mean, I'm not an engineer, so I don't know. I'm not a roofer.
Well, does the rest of the board feel like that, I'm not talking about staff, I'm talking about, I was under the impression we were getting a whole new roof, or am I incorrect in that?
No, there was one section that they said they thought didn't need anything.
Okay, but I thought the purpose of the process we went through, I'll get to you in a second, Sandy. I thought the purpose of the process we went was to determine that.
Well, that's what I thought the engineering group that we hired was supposed to do that, and they should have caught it. If the roof is so bad they gotta take it off, then that engineering group should have caught it.
That's what I feel like
I don't know. I don't know what.
What do you think, Sandy?
What are you gonna?
Yeah, I think that engineering or the structural engineer, whoever we hired, they dropped the ball. They did cores. They should have found that core right away, along with when we're doing this whole thing. So I think, a little bit is on them, because we're not the professionals. They were the ones that examined it. And if they did core drilling up there, I think that's what you call it, something that should have been core drilling. They should have had, definite knowledge of what was down below there, because if there was nothing there, they couldn't have gotten any core out of there, and they should have lifted something up to see, that there is nothing there. So I think we have a little problem with that engineer, and I think we need to have some kind of meeting with him. And, I know it's a lot of extra, and while they're working, we don't want to have to rebid this whole thing again just for some small section of roof. And, if they really want to do business and they're having all these little oopsies, they ought to work with us just a little bit, I think.
Well,
I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
I feel like that's why we hired the engineers, was they were the
Exactly.
people who should have
Right.
known, and that's why we hired them, to know exactly what to be done.
Yeah.
Now, of course,
And if they did that core and checking it out, yeah.
See that, But to say that a roof is okay and you shouldn't have to do anything with it, and
Well, he said
then,
it needed to be repaired. He did say that.
and then come back and say, oh, no, it's too bad, we gotta take the whole thing off.
Well, they haven't determined yet what needs to
Seems
be
to
done.
me, though, that part of the inspection by the engineer would be not just looking at it from the outside and taking the core, but also looking underneath, because, well, I don't know how much space there is between the ceiling and the rafters, but he should have been looking underneath to make sure that there was no.
Well,
Right.
that's what I'm saying, the expert,
That's
he's the expert, that's why we hired him.
We don't know, and the staff doesn't know, that's why we.
And I don't know what's in our contract, that'd be legal, but
Well, as you saw, it doesn't have that piece included.
Right, and I don't remember which part of the roof it was, I don't remember. Where is it located?
Do you know?
It's the back part of the branch, kind of,
Is it over
about where the piano
over the
is.
barrel?
on the other side of the barrel. It's one that's closest to, that's North Street and, part of Coles, in fact, where the piano is, or where, the public safety, or the public, text, when we had them, that office and everything back in that area. So it's kind of along the edge in that corner.
So I don't know if we have any legal recourse with the engineering group that
I
we
don't
hired.
think so, because it wasn't in the bid specs. It wasn't included in the project, because he.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
He should have caught it if the roof needed to be fixed rather than just repair. If it needs, the whole thing needs to be torn off instead of just repaired, they should have caught it. They're the experts.
That's one thing, we don't know exactly what that piece of roof needs yet. We don't know if it just needs to be repaired.
I'm not saying
Or if
don't
it needs
fix
to
it.
be ripped off completely and replaced.
I'm not saying don't fix it. What I'm saying is, do we have any recourse with the engineer because they did not, they're the experts.
They were supposed to be looking at that whole roof. I was
Yeah.
under the impression that they looked at the whole, and that's what we paid all that money for, so
No,
I think we,
exactly what needed to be done and what
All
didn't.
at the same time.
I think we need to have a meeting with them.
Yeah.
Carla and I and whoever else was on that committee, I think we need to meet with them.
We have met with them, but I can certainly see if he would come to a board meeting. We may have to call a special meeting, because the project may be done by the time our next meeting.
Well, I'm saying though, I think we need to consult with legal to see, because we signed a contract with that engineering group. And the whole
Right.
reason why we hired them was for them to determine what needed to be done so that we could get a bid to get it fixed.
And that was
So-
his determination, was that part just needed to be repaired. But it wasn't included in the replacement project because it didn't need to be replaced. It just needed to be repaired.
I understand
And it's
that.
okay that we accepted the bid to replace only part of the roof, but it's not okay that he gave us faulty information to make that decision with.
Exactly, exactly right, Scotty. There you are. Exactly. Yeah,
I'm not concerned, I'm not saying don't fix it, we have to fix
Yes.
it. But what I'm
Right.
saying is, he was hired to do a job and he failed. Because if we now have to replace it rather than just repair it, that's on them. Because we hired them, they're professionals, we hired them to make that determination. And he made a bad call, and that's on them.
Is it definite that it has to be replaced?
No, they have
Yeah,
not
they
determined,
still-
because that
they
is
don't know.
not part of their project, so they will look at that, I believe, when they finish with what the project is.
So that's what I'm saying. If we have to replace the whole roof, I don't know what kind of legal recourse we have back on the engineering company that we hired.
That's it. To me, the engineering company was supposed to look at the entire roof,
Yes,
from corner to corner,
Yes.
corner to corner, and make the determination what needed to be repaired, replaced.
yes.
But unless we have to replace the whole thing and they only have to repair it, it's still what he said.
But that's not what he said.
Yeah, he said it needed to be repaired, but they didn't put it in the project because the project was replacing the roof. And so he didn't put that in there as part of that project.
So technically,
oh, I thought the repair was to it, not to totally replace it.
No. That was his recommendation. That part he did not feel it needed to be replaced.
I'll have to go back, I'm gonna go back and look at the contract.
Yeah,
I can
Carlin, when
certainly-
could we go and look at that? When could we go meet and look at that contract? Is there some time we could meet and look at that together?
Sure, we can,
I just think we need to look at that.
And I can talk to our legal counsel too, to see, you know, if there's anything, what his advice is too, so.
Any other roof discussion?
That's all I had as far as update, unless anybody has any other questions.
We didn't have any action to take, you mentioned it.
Sounds to me like the.
Oh, that's it, yeah, if you guys want to make a motion basically to, waive the bid process if there was an emergency on this roof replacement project, then you could do that. That would save us having to call a special meeting, maybe save us some valuable time, because if that was really truly about to collapse, we would have had to get someone here, but we couldn't because we would have to call a board meeting. So that would just be something, and it would just, it would just be for this project only.
No, absolutely. What do the rest of you think?
yeah, I mean, if there's an emergency, like the wall gonna collapse or something, then yes, I think they should be able to make that determination. And
Is that a motion?
yes, I make a motion that
And
if there is an emergency, that the director can act without the board's approval.
Well, you have to specifically say waive the bidding
Waive.
process.
Waive the bidding process.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. We'll just ask that if that does happen, you at least send out an email.
Oh,
to the board.
absolutely.
And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
just for this project.
Oh, yes, I would definitely let you guys know if there
Okay.
was anything like that.
All right, we have a motion by Carlin and a second by Judy Walter. Any further discussion? Do the roll call vote, please.
Sandy Hanky,
Yes,
Judy Walter,
Yes.
Lee Tyler. Yes. Patty Long,
Yes.
Jane Beal,
Yes.
Carolyn Dillon,
Yes.
myself, yes. Ron McMullen,
Yes.
Scotty Walker.
Yes. Announcements?
So the only announcement I have was it's banned books week. So this week, September 18th through 24th.
I was absolutely surprised at some of the books that are in that. Yeah?
Go ahead.
No,
I think we leave them.
those will stay. For now.
We'll assess it at a later time.
That's a good point, thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah.
We're just setting the policy aside temporarily, is that what we're doing?
Yes.
I think they need to stay. That's my opinion.
Anything that
I'll
helps
make
protect us.
a motion that they need to stay.
All right? We have a motion that we will keep the uprights at the circulation desk in place. For a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Sandy, a second by Carlin to keep the uprights in place. Roll call vote, please.
Sandy Hanky,
Yes,
Judy Walter,
A reluctant yes.
Judy Tyler,
No.
Patty Long,
Yes.
Jane Beal, yes. Carolyn Dillon,
Yes.
myself, yes. Ron McMullen,
Yes, I guess.
Scotty Walker.
Yes.
And, one no, and the rest yes.
All right. Nothing else? I will adjourn. We'll see you next month in Holden.